All right, guys, welcome to this past weekend, the follow-up edition. We had a lot of guys call in about being a missing person or becoming a missing person. If they knew any missing persons or had any involvement with the missing. And I'm happy to kind of get into that. The episode last weekend or on Monday was a little too long. And so I figured that I would, kind of juxtapose some of those ideas and questions and inquiries because we had a few calls about missing people and missing personage. So let's get into some of that, man. I'm going to take you right into them. Re-record your message at the tone. Hey, man, what's up, bro? This is Theo. Just calling in, dude. I wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I know you talked about being missing, disappearing, some family issues. So I wanted to get an update on what was going on with you, bro. So drop me a buzz back, man, if you get a chance. You can hit me up on that hotline there. That's 985-664-9503. And let me know, man. Not going to say that you alarmed me, but certainly, just riding the Greyhound is dangerous in general. And $20 is not enough to get you far. So I just wanted to check in with you, bro, see if you're actually missing or not, or if you were just kind of throwing us on a wild goose chase. All right, get back to me. So we'll see, man. We got a guy who's, supposed to be missing, I guess. I don't know if he's one of these, I don't even know how these young people, if they even know how to run away from home anymore. I don't know how young this guy is. To me, honestly, he sounded Asian. And he sounded about 30, about 32 maybe. So he sounded like an adult Asian or a sullen, younger Asian, quiet, kind of younger Asian, medium to heavy build. So I'd be intrigued to even get a photograph of the gentleman to know, just to guesstimate who we're dealing with. But we might have a missing person out there. We tried to check in with him, and I'll try to check in with him again. I've never been missing, so I can't tell you how those people feel. I do watch a lot of the shows where people are missing or have gone missing. I've always been infatuated with people that are missing. I remember I used to collect they used to have these little cards that they would pass out or mail to you, and it said The Missing, 1-800 The Missing. And I used to collect those as a child. I had them pinned all over my room. I just always had an infatuation with people that weren't where they were supposed to be, and so I think it's interesting that here I am now, in young adulthood, really discussing the missing with you guys. So let's crack into a couple of calls, man, and let's see what you guys kind of threw into the fire here when it comes to dealing with missing persons and possibly being missing persons. We're also going to call the gentleman who said he was missing and check in with him, see if he is still missing, if he's, how long he plans to be out there or not where he's supposed to be. So, and if he was just bullshitting us, because the guy said he was getting on a Greyhound bus, and he sounded a little bit Asian to me, but who knows? We'll see. All right, let's check in with a couple of callers right here.
Mr. Vaughn, how you doing, sir? It's Kevin. Calling from Port St. Lucie, Florida.
What's up, Kevin? Port St. Lucie, key lime pie country. I don't know if you spent time there, but I would say that's a safe bet.
I'm a missing man in certain people's eyes. I have had no contact with my mother's family in over 5 years. You might ask how it's possible.
I wasn't going to ask that, but I will ask it now. How is that possible, brother?
Well, about 5 years ago, we had a death in the family, and my grandmother died, my mom's mother, and a lot of shit happened, It was a shit storm of misfortunes, and I ended up being Baker acted, bro. They called the police on me and told them I had a gun, and I was...
Yeah, Baker acted. If you're not familiar with the Baker Act, it's a piece of legislation that if there's fear that somebody's going to harm themselves, then they can be detained for a certain period of time to have some psychological evaluation done, I believe. Don't, hold me to those 100% words, but I would say that's 85% of it. Let's keep it going.
Gonna kill myself. And cops came to my house.
Okay. Possible self-kill with this guy.
They had their guns drawn on me and shit.
Cops came to his house, had their guns drawn.
And it was for no reason. I didn't threaten anything or say anything to anybody. And this is South Florida, so I was carrying a gun. The cops come at you and get on the ground, scumbag, and then they take you to jail. You're in jail for 3 days.
Okay. We've already got a lot going on here, man. You've got, you're a missing person, self-proclaimed. You have some family issues, it sounds like. You had a falling out with your mother after the death of your grandmother. 70% of the time that has to do with inheritance. And I'm not assuming that. But you also use the word misfortunes. That has fortune in it. So I don't know if that's subconscious or not. I'm not accusing. I'm just saying, I'm just sharing, the corn that's popping in my head with you. It seems like there was family issue then. Next thing you know, you're not doing anything wrong. You are carrying a gun, and you're being held for psychological evaluation. So I'm sorry to hear these things, but let's get into on here a little bit more about how you are missing, if you are indeed missing.
Jail. You're in jail for 3 days while you watch you. Make sure you didn't kill yourself.
Didn't kill himself?
And when I got out, I just disappeared, man. Like I said, I moved like 9 miles away in the next town, and I haven't been,
Okay. All right, dude. So you moved 9 miles away. That's not disappearing. That's running an errand. You moved 9 miles away. Did you drive? Did you get a ride from someone? Because that's not. I guess immediately I'm learning that everyone's idea of disappearing or being a missing person is different. I don't consider getting 9 miles away disappearing. But maybe you do, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Maybe I'm having pre-conclusions here. So let's hear some more.
They ask all my friends and shit, where is he? Have you seen him? Blah, blah, blah. It's just, I don't know how I did it, but I'm still missing.
I'm still missing, huh? Well, I get you. Look, you are missing, man. Are people looking for you, though? Because I think that's what makes someone missing. It doesn't sound to me, I don't have the factor where somebody's looking for you, where people are, 100% interested in where you are, what's going on. Let's keep going.
But she don't go anywhere, and I don't go to that town anymore, so, yeah. I got some other shit going on too, man.
Okay, now we're getting into some real shit, it seems like. That might have been a little bit of fluff, that might have been a little bit of dander. Now we're getting into the big sneeze.
Been real fucked up. I just got fired from my job yesterday. I just spent all morning calling hookers off Craigslist and Backpage. To no prevail.
Backpage.
Ended up working out too early in the morning for the hookers.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I watch you, I wait for you every week. I'm excited about your show, man.
All right, man, I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate trying to think about where you're coming from, because it's you had the issues with your mother, it sounds like, and you guys had a falling out. You live close by, but you're not seeing each other. But it seems like you almost, maybe even subconsciously, you want to see each other. If you're not that far, you went and you specifically said 9 minutes. That's not very far, man. That's not, it's almost like hide and go seek, but you're not looking for each other. I don't know if that's as much missing as it is like, I'm going to be over here, So you had that, and then you had the issues with prison, or going to jail for a few days with the Baker Act. But then you go on to say you just lost your job, and that's when I feel like we're kind of getting into what's really going on here. It sounds like you're just in a rut. To me, you sound lonely, man. And that's the first place, even as I'm talking right here, listening to you and sharing, that I feel like I can connect with you on this. Because I've been lonely, I feel like I spent a good deal of my life lonely, and I can understand that. And it sounds like you hold some grudges. There's some issues there with family stuff. As far as the family stuff goes, at a certain point, you should decide for yourself, so you are comfortably living within your decision. And you should decide for yourself, do you want to make amends with your mother or whoever it is? Do you want to forgive? Do you want to forget? Because the grudge, otherwise it sounds like this is just a grudge that's going to keep you 9 miles away. That's never going to get better unless you take action. So you can also take action to decide that you don't want to forgive, that you're okay with where you are, and that's that. But don't let that be a hang up for you anymore. Don't use it as an excuse, and don't use it as a motivation. Because sometimes negative motivators, it doesn't end well. It's like if I'm chasing my dreams if I'm just going to do well just to show somebody else, it's a negative motivation. It's not bad, but it's not as effective. I don't feel as a motivator as saying I'm going to do something just for me. I'm going to do something to prove to myself, or because I want to better myself. So anyhow, that might be some of the family stuff you got going on there. But I feel you, man, being lonely, feeling like, maybe you've made some poor choices. You can't bounce back from them. Maybe you sound, it doesn't sound like there's somebody else in your life. And there may be. I'm just sharing what I feel through the lines here. You're looking up escorts early in the morning. That's often a sign sometimes of, you're up early. So is there drugs there? What's going on? You said no hookers were available at the early hours. I'm not surprised that Port St. Lucie doesn't seem like a early hooker area. And a lot of those hookers on the internet aren't who they say they are. It's a lot of false advertising. Same kind of stuff you get, I feel like, with a lot of political parties. A lot of yammering, a lot of fancy pictures, but not a lot of reality, And I'm not saying either one in general. I'm just saying politics overall. And everything these days, a lot of pomp, little circumstance. But it sounds like you're lonely, bro. And you know what I'm going to suggest to you, dude? And I know I suggest this kind of stuff a lot. I'm going to suggest you get into AA. That's what I'm going to suggest. If I had to make a suggestion, go to a couple meetings. Because here's what's going to happen. One, you're going to be surrounded by other people. You're not going to be alone. You're going to hate it at first. You're going to think it's gay or it's cheesy or it's this or that. But eventually you're going to go and you're probably going to enjoy it because there's going to be other people around. Two, you're going to be able to hear other people's stories to know that whatever's going on in your head that's making you think you're fucked up. Because you sound like a little bit of like a local Boo Radley, bro, But you ain't afraid to really get out there and ghost. You just boo-booing around the perimeter of the city. And that's, it just doesn't seem like a way that you want to look back on your life and have this be it. Also in AA, you're going to find other people to communicate with who are going to recognize your story, and that's going to help you. Because you're going to get past this, whatever this little thing is that's going on with the mom and all of that, the missing person bullshit, honestly, you're going to be able to rise above that. Because it sounds like you're missing because you don't want to take action to find yourself. So those are just some thoughts, man. I'm not trying to be rude, but, you sound like an adult, just vocally, it sound like you got a little bit of baritone in there, and you're going to have to take action. Because running around with a gun and Baker Act and all this bullshit, and, if enough bullshit, sometimes if there's enough shit around, that's actually the fly and you're actually the shit, I don't know if that makes sense or not, because I don't even know if it makes sense to me. But sometimes, you know, where there's where there's shit, there's probably flies looking for shit, bro. You feel me? I don't either, man. But yeah, those are just some of my thoughts, man. Again, not trying to be rude, but thank you very much for calling, and I hope you I hope you find yourself, man, because that's what it seemed like a little bit as the missing is going on. Let's take into another call.
Yeah, what's up, man? This is Danny, man. Danny Jeter, man. Calling from Seattle, but I'm from Monticello, Arkansas and shit.
Okay, Danny from Seattle, but also via Arkansas. All right, let's do more.
Anyways, I wanted to comment about your missing part, or have you ever been missing? I knew someone was missing. And when I was I was in the 8th grade, I think I was about 14, I just turned 14. Me and a buddy stole my pop's car, man, and ran away for about 2 weeks. So I was one of the missing kids, bro.
Wow. Now that's missing, bro. This seems very missing.
And it was a trip, man. You know, we went state to state. We would switch like the license plates up so it would match, you know, what kind of car we were in. But I was a young ass looking kid. I look pretty young now. I'm like 38, and so I look even younger, man, at like 13 and 14. But
wow, he said he's a young looking 38-year-old and looked younger at other ages, at actual young ages of youth onward.
Man, we never got stopped, man. We had a lot of little adventures and shit. It was a trip, dude. But eventually, man, you know, I just wasn't ready for that real world. We got to Florida. I was like in Pensacola, I think, Panama City. And I was just doing the towel, dude. I was like, man, it's time to go home and face that music, you know?
Oh, wow. A couple things you say, bruh. I mean, I felt a real connection right when you said that you weren't ready to face the music, you know? Weren't ready to, you know, grow up. Let me take it back a notch here so I can hear exactly what you said again.
But eventually, man, you know, I just wasn't ready for that real world.
That's what you said. You weren't ready for that real world, man. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes I've spent many years of my life running from the real world of it all, you know, running from the reality of it all, running from having to grow up or trying to, you know. But this is interesting, man. It's a cool story, you know, because, I mean, I had some instances. We tried to mail a friend of mine, little Danny. I had this buddy Danny when I was growing up, and he was probably, you know, 2 vertebrae light in the neck, and he had a neck issue that made his neck very mobile against his will. You know, he had a naturally mobile neck. You know, just his neck was just really almost kind of had just natural, had that natural turn to it. And we tried to mail him one time in a box and everything to better times, you know, into a better environment for him. And that was the closest any of us came to really running away. I mean, we spent some time away for a few days here and there, but nothing big like that, you know, nothing really, really big like that as a child. So to have that adventure sounds really, I mean, that's adventure, you know, you're 38 now, and this is when you were 13 or 14. That's 25 years ago, rolling out. This is before cell phones. That's when you were free, you know, when freedom had a real different feel to it. You really can't be totally free these days, as long as you're going to have that cell phone with you or have any credit cards or anything like that where there's going to be a trace. I mean, back then you could go missing, and it sounds like that's what you did. I want to pick up the end of this again because there's something else that I thought about.
I think Panama City.
Panama City, dude. Well, I went there for spring break a few times, and we were just really intoxicated. We had got an extra hotel room there down at the White's Motel that was just for urination, and people would open the door and just urinate into the room, and the whole room was flooded with urine. And then we also, some kid had broken a window out and didn't have any money to pay for it, so the rest of us took his clothing, his bag of clothing, and sold all of his clothes out on the strip there by the beach, and to help pay for that window. And so that was, kind of a special time. And that kid, as a young child, was a real piece of shit. I think as an adult, he's probably grown out of that behavior. But anyhow, onward. Let's hear the rest of your story.
And I was just doing the towel, dude. I was like, man, it's time to go home and face that music, But it was a crazy trip, man. It really was. I had some pretty wild experiences, siphoning gas and shit, or almost getting killed in fucking Louisiana, your home state, bro. Fucking with these girls we saw at a rest stop and shit.
Wow, dude. Just the simple fact that you had an opportunity to meet women at a rest stop or a rest area, where I used to see they used to have a lot of drug-induced gays behind the rest area in our town. And I'm not making fun of gays or any of that bullshit. I'm just saying these men were gay, and they were drug-induced, though. Not freelance, natural homosexuality. But anyhow, dude, I want to hear more about this. You met two girls at a rest area. Go on.
And we was driving up alongside him, and then Pops pulled out the big revolver from underneath his seat. But yeah, man, so I was a missing dude for a while, but word is lost, sometimes it gets found. Anyways, man, I love your show, dude. You crack me up, man, big fan. And yeah, man, hit me up if you want to talk about this shit or whatever. Have a good day, bro.
Thanks, man. I guess this is my way of hitting you up to talk about it, for now until we get a call-in capability. This is it. So I appreciate it, man. It brought back some neat memories. And yeah, it sounds like you actually went missing, It sounded like you did, the most that could occur. I watch these stories about people that just disappear, and just they can't find them. And obviously some foul play has occurred usually. But it's just, God, that's the scariest thing to me, is to just to go and be gone and nobody knows and leave everybody with no answers. It's a darkly fascinating, there's something dark and just fascinating about it. But anyhow, we might do another episode in the future. I'm going to take one more call here. Might do another episode in the future. So if you really know somebody that's missing out there, check in, let us know what's going on. And see if you can have them give us a buzz. I would love to speak to someone that is still missing or still out there. This is a safe haven for the missing. I consider this podcast that, indeed. This is sort of the Sweden. So this, let this be that. All right, let's take one more call, man.
Hey, Theo. It's your boy Scott from West Virginia, the best Virginia.
The best Virginia. There's only two, so it's a pretty limited competition, but at least a tie. It's at least a tie. What do you guys have that Virginia doesn't? They have tobacco more. You guys have more, probably people that are using tobacco and have the disabilities from a lot of overuse. But go on. I spent some time in Huntington, West Virginia out there when it had just been crowned the fattest city in America. And I remember seeing some really large people and thinking that they were probably going to die soon. But I had some great times there in Huntington. Beautiful, beautiful small city. Anyhow, onward.
Hi there. Sorry, I had a little indigestion, a little chicken farm. Now, I have a question. You said that you felt that you'd been missing. What do you feel you were missing from? Were you missing from loved ones? Were you missing from love? Or were you just missing from life because you just weren't focusing on it? I'm just curious. But I gotta let you know, man, I love your podcast. It's one of the 4 I listen to religiously.
Oh, thanks.
I have shown no offense to everybody. I showed it to my mom. I thank you, brother, and I love you.
Oh, thank you, bro. I love you too, man. I appreciate that sentiment. And yeah, it's a good question. What have I felt like I was missing from? To be honest, for a lot of my for a lot of my 20s, I felt like I just lived out of a place of fear, like I was afraid. I felt like I wasn't really living, like I was afraid to be myself because I didn't know who I was. So I was afraid to take a step forward until I knew what both my feet were standing in, what my foundation was, who I was. And the problem with that is it's hard to create a lot of motion in your life when you all of a sudden become the stopgap, or when you become the, when you become the thing that's stopping things, when you can't make decisions, or you're uncertain, or the flow, man, the flow that's out there, it stops. It can, or it'll decrease to a creek. And I was doing that a lot for myself because I was just afraid, man. I was just afraid to be sure, afraid to take action, afraid to, it could be anything, really commit to a job, or commit to a woman, or even afraid to just speak up. Like joking, I could joke. That was fine. That was easy for me. That was a defense mechanism and something that came very natural to me. But from the heart, when it came to any feelings or something real, man, I did not have a voice. I felt a lot of times like my opinion wasn't worth anything because maybe I wasn't as smart as other people, I felt like, because I sounded a certain way, or because I was, grew up poor, or, grew up without a father figure, or grew up, having less than, or being white trash. I felt like that, maybe I just didn't have an assurance inside of me, a voice that was going to stand up. And I think coming to Los Angeles didn't help that because, you see so many loudmouths here and people that think they know what they're talking about. And also it's so extremely liberal here in a lot of places that it's hard to, if you even have questions, it's hard to speak up if you're from like a different side of the tracks. So that was tough for me, man. That was tough for me. And so I think I got in a spot where I just chose to not do anything, and so I just felt missing. I just felt, one, like I was missing out because I was afraid, and two, just like I didn't know who I was. Like I was constantly looking for myself, looking for my voice, looking to have some assurance before I opened my mouth. And so then a lot of times I would just keep my mouth closed. Like on stage I would talk, but if I was off a stage and I wasn't joking, then I was just afraid. I was afraid to connect with myself because I didn't feel like I knew myself well enough. And if I could go back in time, I would just share. I would share and be wrong and apologize after. Because I like to apologize. I don't really mind being the one that's wrong. I would share and apologize after if I was wrong, but to not share at all, it was just bottling me up and it was slowing down the flow. So if I go back in time, I would have learned how to make decisions faster and quicker. So that's where I felt like I've been a missing person. But thank you for that call, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching No Offense. That's a Netflix special. We did just hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I greatly appreciate that. We're going to have a regular episode coming up of this past weekend, coming up this on Monday morning. So this is just a little extra episode. The hotline, again, if you want to hit that hotline, it's 985-664-9503. We'll go back to some general discussion next episode and just kind of see where we're at. But I appreciate you guys calling about the missing people and sharing some of your thoughts on that. And that's it, man. Take care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves, Try to anyway. It's hard, dude. It's hard. I know it's hard. Life isn't easy. There's 3 days out of the week I feel like it feels okay, and those other 4, man, I feel crispy. But hopefully next week I can make it 4-3. I can reverse the tide a little bit. But we keep fighting, man. Be good to yourselves. Be good to yourselves. All right? I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.